Bunzo Bunny was one of the many toys transformed into a bigger body, another innocent child that fell victim to Playtime Co.'s sinister antics. But while being a rather smaller experiment compared to the others, this doesn't mean he serves a small purpose for the company. Rather, Bunzo played a crucial role for Playtime Co. And, as you will see, this character's fate was always meant to end one way.
Mommy can only imagine how excited Bunzo must be. It's been such a long time since he's been able to play, to cheer, to eat.
The specific date for Bunzo's toy creation has yet to be found, but we can assume it was made around the early days of the company, considering the character was included in the main toy lineup. With the company's early success, it wanted to capitalize on the plush bunny craze, so Bunzo Bunny was created. The character was designed to be a cheerful rabbit who loves to celebrate birthdays. He is yellow and wears green overalls. He bears a large smile showing off his 2 buck teeth. He also wears a green party hat to remind you that he loves birthdays and is always ready to celebrate. He interestingly has green triangular markings around his eyes that are similar to a clown. And of course, his most notable feature are the 2 symbols in his hands that he clashes together when he gets excited. In Playtime Co. fashion, this toy had a special feature. It was equipped with the ability to remember up to 8 birthdays and deliver greetings on those specific days. A very first for a toy of its kind during that time period. So this grew his popularity. Kids would use Bunzo to freak out their family and friends as he would tell them when their birthday is. Over time, Playtime Co. began to struggle financially. They needed something to revive the company without spending more money. So Dr. Harley Sawyer proposed the Bigger Bodies initiative. This would allow the company to create giant living toys that they could put to work, meaning Playtime Co. would not have to hire real people when the toys could work for free. So with Bunzo Bunny's success amongst the kids, he would be included in this initiative and put to work. Bunzo was experiment 1991. But Playtime Co. did not use regular people for these experiments. They built their very own on-site orphanage to house children. But this of course was a front in order to use these innocent kids for the Bigger Bodies experiments. These experiments were giant vessels modeled after the company's toys. Experiments that included the unethical harvesting of organs and bones. These organs were used in tandem with the poppy flower to create organic experiments. If a child did not have a family, no one would know that they were gone. As of right now, it is unknown as to who the child was that became the Bigger Body Bunzo. You might think it was a child that had a similar personality to the toy version of the character, someone who was always excited and filled with joy. However, it's quite the opposite. The Bigger Bodies version of Bunzo seems to have a much darker and more twisted personality. Rather, his experiment would include ravenous behaviors, which leads us to why he was created in the first place. Now, the orphans chosen for the experiments were not at random. Playtime Co. built a game station that would test the children's physical and mental strength. Although these tests were anything but fun. Rather, they would traumatize the children. These games included statues, which tested physical endurance, Whack-A-Wuggy, which tested reaction time, and finally, musical memory, which tested the cognitive ability of the child. Musical memory was the first game that the orphans would play. The child would need to remember sequences of colors, shapes, symbols, and letters while pressing the correct button in the right order. This looks simple on paper, but the game was so intense that it would even cause one child to scream if you said a list of colors around him. Now, if a child failed to do this correctly, the game would end, and this is where Bunzo Bunny gets put to work. They attached him to the machine, and as the game progressed, Bunzo would lower down, aggressively smashing his symbols together. This put the child in a state of panic to test if they could perform under pressure. If they failed, Bunzo ultimately smashed the child with his symbols and game over. Originally, this game was designed for a different character, but Playtime Co. felt they needed something better, something more antagonizing. Bunzo Bunny and his iconic symbols were the perfect fit. This is why Bunzo is smaller than the other bigger bodies. He was created for musical memory. He needed to fit inside the machine, so his size remained small for the job he was made for. This is something the player would see once they entered the abandoned remains of the Playtime Co. factory. As the player ventures through the factory, they come across Mommy Longlegs and are forced to play her games in order to leave. The first game is, of course, Musical Memory. Mommy Longlegs mentions that she can only imagine how excited Bunzo Bunny must be for someone to finally be playing his game again. How it's been such a long time since he's been able to play, cheer, and eat. However, Bunzo continues to starve as the player ultimately succeeds in the game. So we are led to believe that Bunzo's fate is left unknown. But once the player leaves the game area, faint thrashing noises as well as crashing from Bunzo's cymbals can be heard. This suggests that Mommy Longlegs murdered Bunzo for failing to kill the player. If the player returns to the game station after leaving Musical Memory, Bunzo's corpse can be seen on the ceiling, hanging motionless and trapped by Mommy Longlegs' webs, meaning Bunzo Bunny perished at the hands of Mommy Longlegs. Now, you could suggest that Bunzo did not deserve this fate. It was not up to him to attack the player at will, as he had no control over how well the player did, meaning it was not his fault he wasn't able to get the player. This was an unfair game even for Bunzo. So it seems the child of Bunzo and the bigger bodies version both had their futures taken from them, as history always repeats itself. But this wouldn't be the last time the player sees Bunzo Bunny along their journey. In order to leave the water treatment zone, the player must use a Bunzo toy as a key to unlock the door. Besides this and other Bunzo toys around the factory, the player would not see Bunzo again until a small part of Chapter 3. A lone Bunzo toy can be seen walking and clapping its cymbals in the counselor's office before falling to the ground. Catnap then quickly runs in and snatches up the toy, reminding us that this creation perished at the hands of its supposed friends. Now, you might have noticed a poster in Chapter 3 that depicts Bunzo Bunny falling into a pit with text reading "Watch your step," also including "Always remain aware of your surroundings. Falls can be lethal." This could be a reference to the Bunzo Bunny Easter comic. The Bunzo Bunny Easter comic was a series of illustrated comic panels that showcases Bunzo Bunny as he tries to find the Easter eggs hidden around the Playtime Co. factory. This comic was entirely posted on Mob Entertainment's Twitter, with the community voting on what would happen over time. The first page introduces us to Bunzo while he is holding a bucket named Bucky. Bunzo tells us he is on an Easter egg hunt and needs our help to find these secret eggs. He gives us a choice as to who to ask for help: Brawn, Boxy, or PJ. We recommend Brawn, which seems to be a good choice considering how tall he is, how he can probably see all of the hiding spots. Bunzo asks Brawn if he has seen any of the eggs. Brawn replies saying he thinks he saw one hidden up on the catwalks in the game station, so Bunzo and Bucky make their way over. However, along the way, Bunzo stops and smells an egg coming from behind the same door where the prototype took Mommy Longlegs' corpse. Of course, we suggest he should take a quick peek inside and investigate the smell. After all, he can just come back later. So Bunzo continues inside the room. It's extremely dark. This scares Bunzo, but he eventually sees an egg sitting in a bird's nest underneath a red light. This must be the egg he was smelling. However, it's too high up, so we instruct Bunzo to use a grab pack. And this works, it grabs the egg. As Bunzo wonders what's inside, he finds the grab pack crush the egg, leaving an unhatched chick in his palm. In a panic, Bunzo runs to find help, only to fall through a tunnel deep into the depths of the factory. He wakes up injured, unable to move, and can barely speak. We suggest he calls for help, so he does just that, only for no one to hear. Unable to do anything because of his injuries, Bunzo sits and waits all alone. He waits for hours, as hours turn into days and days turn into weeks. With no response, he draws this comic to retell his story of how he got trapped. After 30 days, Bunzo's life is laid to rest. His body is eventually found rotting away. Weirdly, it looks as if something or someone might have come across his body before it was found. There is a cut or bite taken out of his head, his eyes are missing, and his front teeth are gone. There are also scratch marks next to him on the wall, so maybe Catnap found the body and decided to have a snack, or the prototype found him and took the pieces he wanted. Either way, Bunzo Bunny's fate always seems to end prematurely, or rather unfairly. With that being said, this is obviously a different Bunzo than the one we saw in the game. Maybe this is another Bunzo experiment, or maybe it was just a fun little Easter gag from Mob Entertainment. Which one is it? I'll let you decide. It's very clear that Bunzo was created to work. His bigger body was never supposed to be anything special, and Playtime Co. did not care. The experiments were made to work. Furthermore, the parallels to this character are also unsettling. How a child's life was unfairly taken from them, only for the bigger body's life to also be unfairly taken from them, as he had no way of controlling the player's actions and musical memory. Even in the comic, Bunzo accidentally fell, which ultimately caused him to unfairly die as no one came for him. The Bunzo Bunny character was never made to have a happy ending. Like I said earlier, history always repeats itself. How do you guys feel about Bunzo Bunny? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you like horror game content like this, please consider subscribing. Also, if you want to support the channel more, you can become a member. Shout out to Josh Combs and Accelerate Mike for supporting. Don't forget to follow my Twitter at TerrifiedT. Thanks for watching.